John Muka?
Yes, yes, my name is still John Muka, and I'm a resident of Hamilton Township. You know, I think we can appreciate tonight the value of being able to get questions answered right live in a situation like this. So I wish you would begin to entertain the idea of doing this in a town hall fashion, because unfortunately we're all in a straitjacket here with this ill-designed approach to a school board meeting. It might have been a great thing to do 20 years ago. We weren't facing all the turmoil and everything else that's going on here. So my thought would be a town hall meeting organized every quarter where we could have subcommittees get ready, plan the meeting out, get the questions all lined up and ready to be answered, and then involve a lot of people in listening to each other. This is a great picture of the coming pre-K. But unfortunately, the decision process that led into it was much too secretive and much too hidden. You know, tonight we have the resolution that finally gives us the numbers of how much it's going to cost. Now, it's not a burden for Hamilton Township itself, but we pay Mercer County taxes and we pay state taxes too. So the building may be free in a sense, but it's really not free. Is it the best choice? I don't know. I don't know what happened in all those years, all those meetings. Where's the accountability? As I said in my email, you know, where's the minutes of the meetings, the participants, you know, the study reports that we might have been able to look through and read through in some depth before we come here with a bunch of amateur questions on the little things that occur to us in the moment. So we can do a better job with that, but it takes you to have the courage and the fortitude to put in the time that it takes and be ready to face these kind of things. There's not a lot of people here. I don't know what that means. Maybe they're completely satisfied with everything in Hamilton Township schools, or more likely they just have no clue what's going on. It's extremely difficult to communicate these days. There are no Trenton Times reporters. You know, there's no other source. The Hamilton Post did the article. That's how I found out about this big program. And in all the other meetings I've been to previously, I had no idea we were going to start doing things like, you know, put the 7th and 8th grades together in Crockett. And by the way, I just listened to the man from last month's meeting on the video, and he asked some pretty good questions as to whether that's a good idea or not. But tonight, you know, you're gonna pull the rug out from under us. You're going to approve the resolution, and it's going to go forward. Now, once upon a time, President Kennedy got us all involved in going to the moon. And there's that story of him approaching a janitor at the Space Center, Cape Canaveral. And he just being friendly, he shook his hand and said, "So tell me about, what are you doing here?" And the guy's pushing a broom, and he goes, "I'm putting a man on the moon. Isn't that what you want?" And he said, "I'm no big-time engineer, but when I make the facilities look good for those engineers, when they come in the morning, maybe they get started and they get a lot more done because of it." So we have a dream of a pre-K program, but you know, we went to the moon and there's nothing there. You know, it's a wasteland. So was that really a great thing to go to? You know, maybe my hope is that Elon will eventually get his wish and he'll take himself to Mars, and then maybe he won't come back after that. But you know, let's make sure we're going in the right direction here. The community can be involved in that, so take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muka. Mr. Kanka, can you take us through finance and operations?
Yes. As for recommendations of the superintendent, I move finance and operation motions 1 through 13.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Kanka, I'm going to start with you on any questions in regards to finance and operation agenda items.
Are you addressing me?
I am. Do you have any questions?
I have none at this time.
Ms. Byrne?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Williams?
No.
Ms. Harvey?
I would like to make a comment.
I'm asking for the board to approve Finance Motion 11, and I wanted to explain the ramifications of that motion. The motion asks for the board to approve requesting funding from the Mercer County Improvement Authority to assist with the financing for the building of a new preschool and renovating our pools. This motion is an amendment to action that the board already took in January. The amendment was requested by the Mercer County Improvement Authority to include language that we are doing a PLA and to be clear that there is no increase to the taxpayer. It's also setting a cap for the funding. These capital improvement projects were recommended by the community who came together for years to author the facility strategic plan. The committee was open to the public. Anyone could participate. Many people came and went to these meetings. These proposals were designed to move our district forward instead of in stagnation for the betterment of our children. Why Robinson was selected, it was one of 3, and the grant money that was tied to required us to submit the 3 plans to the state, and only Robinson was approved by the state. If you recall, we approved a grant from the state for preschool funding, but that only takes care of part of the cost. In order to avoid a tax levy, we have the opportunity to partner with the MCIA, and unless we amend the prior motion that we passed in January, we will lose that opportunity. This means that by approving the motion tonight, we can fund our capital improvements without raising the tax levy. A no vote on the motion would mean you do not support bringing preschool to our district with no added tax levy. Stated a different way, a no vote means you would rather have a different district receive the earmarked state funds for preschool rather than your own community. It would also allow another district to provide services and education that we know our youngest learners need. And how do I know that they need it? Just like in a science experiment, I have a control group and an experimental group. I have my older daughter who went through preschool and then was ready for elementary school with the basics. But then the pandemic struck for my youngest, who was in preschool at the time that the pandemic shut everything down. She lost out on those basics and then lost out on a kindergarten. To say her and her classmates are behind where they should be is an understatement. But we, as the board, have the power to try to help so that that doesn't happen again, that our youngest learners are prepared to be more successful. Do we have concerns about our test scores? Well, let's start by giving our residents, preschool-aged children, the opportunity for a head start. Let's approve the funding with the Mercer County Improvement Authority so we don't say no to the preschool that the community asked for in the strategic plan. Some people have expressed concerns about the plan for the preschool, from its location to traffic studies to being 2 stories. But the current motion doesn't address those issues. It's solely about funding. Failing to fund means we can't move forward. It means a death nail in an otherwise admirable goal to bring one part of the facility strategic plan to fruition. Recently, someone mentioned the origin of the word community, and it brought me back memories of my Latin class where I learned the word community is derived from the Latin word communis, meaning common, public, general, shared by many or all. And this plan is for the benefit of the public to be shared by many. We should continue to address the community's concerns for the preschool and work towards addressing those concerns. We have not approved final architectural plans. So there's still time to discuss all of those things that people have come forward to tonight. But there won't be an opportunity to discuss them unless we vote yes on the motion. The motion further addresses a plan for the strategic facilities plan to renovate the pools. The pools are not fully functional right now. We have the chance to renovate that space for the benefits of our students without a tax levy. We should seize that opportunity. Like the preschools, any issues with the design can still be addressed. But saying no tonight to the funding means we keep broken pools that do not serve our students. They are just wasted space. Progress means advancing or developing towards a better state. Voting yes moves us forward to better our community by using dollars that would otherwise go to other districts to help our own students increase the desirability of our school district and, in turn, increases our property values. So I ask you to vote yes on motion 11. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Ms. Stanton?
No questions, thank you.
Dr. Ferrara?
No questions.
Ms. Soto?
No questions, thank you.
Dr. McSheen?
No question, just a comment, and thanks, Ms. Harvey, for voicing your opinion on that. And I just want to actually thank the people who came out tonight to hear about the presentation and brought up some good questions. And I think a lot of the questions that were brought up were questions that board members have had, and we've had a chance to talk about it, and you brought it up here, and we were able to talk about it all together. I understand that the process has felt a little weird in a way. But I just want to echo my support for pre-K in general, and also offer that, I think Dr. Rocco and his team have been willing and able to answer most of my questions, or, working towards it. And I greatly appreciate that. And I'm just kind of zooming out for like half a second here and thinking, if not, tonight we're just voting on accepting, moving towards financing the project, and if we can't finance the project's not going to happen. Given the timing of everything, I don't see a way forward in implementing pre-K in a reasonable level if we don't move forward now. And we heard suggestions about adding some classrooms to a bunch of different schools. And I think we all wish if we had infinite money and can just infinite time and build a couple classrooms there, that would be an easy way. But no, it's not going to be what happens. It's not going to be that there's always a huge patch of land that we can just buy and make a new preschool and have the millions, tens of millions of dollars that it's going to take to do that. It's going to start with something, and this is, I think, the something that we have to start with. And is it going to house every student possible? No, that's just not what it's going to be. But it's a step, and I've always been in favor of how the district is taking steps towards something. And there is a lot of uncertainty in the future. If anyone's looking at buying a house or adding onto their house, I'm sure they're feeling that now. We're feeling it as a district. But at the same time, I'm of the opinion that things are rarely ever going to get better and cheaper. They're only going to get more expensive and more complicated. And I think it's important that we continue discussion on what the facility is going to look like, but that's ongoing. Right now, if we approve moving forward on the financial step, then we can keep having those conversations. And if there's tweaks to the building that need to happen, I'm sure that we'll take them. So just wanted to put my opinion out there, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McSheen. I just had a quick question, and it's kind of a follow-up to what Dr. McSheen was saying, as well as Ms. Harvey, and also the earlier presentation. For item number 11, just to clarify and confirm, voting on this item is an actual amendment to what we voted on in January, correct? And this is just to move forward, but it is not the final approval of any plans or projects, correct? Correct.
Go ahead, Ms. Atwood.
Correct. Okay. I just think it was important to clarify. I believe Ms. Harvey said it, as well as Dr. McSheen, and I believe Dr. Rocco had stated that in his presentation. But I just wanted clarification and confirmation of that. So I thank you very much. Okay. Seeing that there are no other questions, Ms. Atwood, can you take us through roll call, please?
Ms. Harvey?
I am abstaining on number 9, purchase order 2503940. Yes to the rest.
Mr. Kanka?
Yes.
Dr. McSheen?
Yes.
Soto?
Yes.
Stanton?
Yes.
Ms. Williams?
Yes.
Byrne?
I'm abstaining from motions 2, 4, and 11. Yes to the rest.
Dr. Farrar?
I'm abstaining on 11, yes to the rest.
Ms. Thornton?
Yes.
Motions pass.
Okay. So at this time, we have other business. So do any board members have anything to discuss under other business? Mr. Kanka, I'll start with you.
I do. I just want to touch base on a couple items that I observed. You know, as a committee member or a committee chair for the Finance Committee, you know, I talk about how, you know, things get dragged out in our committee meetings, but Dr. Rocco puts in a lot of time and he explains a lot of the issues like he took time with the budget. And as a board member, I really appreciate that. I may joke around a little bit about it, but it's something that he does. He takes a lot of time. And, you know, we sit there and we listen to presentation after presentation, and it gets drummed into your head, and you hear it so many times about what they want to do and how they want to proceed, and trying to make sure that all the students in Hamilton Township get an equal opportunity here with the money that we have available to allocate for these students. As far as the budget process goes, it starts early in the calendar year, probably around September, October. But Dr. Rocco and his staff, they post a calendar of events for the budget process. I guess it's sometime in November or early December. And if people would just log onto the site, they would see when the next meeting is and what this discussion is going to be about. There's probably 15 or 16 meetings that take place, and they're all online for anybody to see that wants to have input as far as the board, the public. So if they would just use their resources at home, they could follow the process, very simple, just like the board members have to follow the same process. When Dr. Rocco puts out a memorandum that goes into board docs or whatever, you have to use the resources that are readily available to you that the district puts out. If you don't use those resources and you come in here and at the 11th hour wanting to know what's going on, well, you have to use what's already available to you. And if you don't do that, you can't come up to the microphone and say that nobody knew about it, because everybody knew about it if they just used what was available that the district put out. And as far as his conversation with the board on the MCIA project, the financing, there was a lot of conversation that went on. This was a program that was brought to the district, that was made available to the district at the 11th hour. There was a lot of conversation that had to take place in the middle of Dr. Rocco's presentation of strategic plan. This all took place in January. We had to move on this because the funding is only available for a small window. So if we don't take advantage of that, like Mrs. Harvey stated in her comments, somebody else is going to get that money. We haven't built anything in this township since 83. We've done a lot of improvements here, but we don't have nothing new. And for us to be able to do this with no impact on the taxpayers of this district is just a phenomenal feat. So if you have questions, that's fine. But as far as the board fast-tracking this, it was fast-tracked for a reason. It was fast-tracked because it was presented to us in January by the business administrator who just found out about it, and that's why we moved on this. There was no secretive meetings. It was just something that had to be done, or we were going to lose the opportunity. We had to put in the request for the 3 sites at a specific time so this could get approved. So as far as being secret, no. It was just the time frame, the amount of work that had to be done between the district and our architect, Spiesel. They worked hand in hand, and the board, he tried making everything available. Dr. Rocco tried making everything available to us as soon as he was made available. We had a meeting Monday night on something of another issue. Dr. Rocco showed me on his laptop something he got in on his laptop that day from Spiesel on changes that were brought up that the board had questions about. And they worked that quickly to get that information out. So, you know, there's no secretive things going on here. It's just, it's an unusual situation, not like we did with the referendum, where money was sought out for specific projects, and it was brought before the voters. It was something that took a couple of years to bring to fruition. We didn't have that opportunity here. We had to move fast, or we were going to lose out. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka. Ms. Byrne? Okay, Ms. Williams?
I just want to echo what Ms. Harvey and what Mr. Kanka had said, because I know that I'm new to the board, but I have to say that the way it's been explained to me and the way I see it is that this whole thing with the pre-K and moving our district forward, and the future starts now. We are one of the only school districts in the area that do not offer a pre-K. I know that there's a lot of our community members that maybe don't come out to these meetings, but I really have to say, I don't think it's that they don't care, or, you know, that I think that there's a majority of our community members that are happy that we're going to have a pre-K. I think it's going to serve its purpose well. It's absolutely needed. And I just think that it's an exciting time. So I understand. And, you know, I have to say also that this is also something that was a use it or lose it, right? So to echo what Ms. Harvey said, you know, it would have went to somebody else. Like, who are we as a district if we're not trying to help the students that we serve? Why? I can understand there being questions, and I can understand people wanting to understand more and learn more, but that doesn't mean that we don't do anything. We don't move forward, that we just stay status quo. I mean, that's not who we are, and that's not who we should be. So I just want to say thank you to everybody coming out. I totally understand everybody's questions. I totally understand if people want to look at traffic. If, you know, there's concerns that we're hearing, but at the same time, and also, you know, I have to say, and I'm sure it's already been said, but I want to echo it, that not only is it use it or lose it, but there are certain criterias and there's certain stipulants that you have to, they're letting us know that we cannot, because it was already asked. Can we put it a pre-K on, you know, feeder schools, so different elementary schools within the district? Can we do it that way? But no, we're being told that it has to be one location. So that's how we have to use the funds. And again, it's not going to cost the taxpayers any extra money. So I just thank everybody for their concern. Continue to ask questions, but I hope that everybody understands and looks at this as a positive and not so much as a negative. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Ms. Harvey? Thank you. Ms. Stanton?
I wanted to thank my fellow board members, Ms. Harvey, Mr. Kanka, and Ms. Williams for speaking on this, because I do truly believe that this would be something that's beneficial for the district now and in the long run. I know that, there's been community members that have spoken up about concerns to do with our ratings and our test scores and things like that. And truly, both as an educator, a parent, and someone who's on the board at this point, I can tell you that one of the best steps that we can take to ensure that our students are doing better academically is to set them up, with a sound early childhood education. And this is an opportunity for us to do this. We should really, truly be embracing this. I understand there are certain things about it. I mean, personally, I would love if we could have it all on one floor, just like there's other folks that would love for us to be able to put it, small parts of it throughout different campuses. We need to, at this point, all just kind of work together and take into consideration that no one's going to be 100% happy, but that this is going to be incredibly beneficial for all of the students and for the taxpayers, because it's not raising our taxes, but it will definitely raise our property values if our children continue to improve and continue to work at a better level because of the early childhood education that they're afforded. So I do think that it's great that we're getting more questions from the community, but I do want to thank my fellow board members for moving forward with this.
Thank you, Ms. Stanton. Ms. Soto?
I'm just going to shift back really quickly. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do want to thank Rich for bringing up the fact that we are privy to a lot of information that you may not see. And so when presentations happen, oftentimes it's usually our second, third, fourth time seeing it. And though it may be your first, and that may seem uncomfortable, I think I just want to remind folks that we've been elected to this position to really represent your views, and we're listening, we're reading the emails, and we're hearing what you're saying, and we're asking the important questions. We don't all think alike. We don't. We have arguments around the table, and we represent the communities that have elected us to the space. So know that everything you put forth is being heard, is being addressed. We're asking the questions for you because we're here to serve the community as best, we want the best for the district and for our community. So I know, it may be uncomfortable for some hearing it for the first time, but I don't know how else I can say it, but we really are getting a lot of information and continuously going back. There's, for us, really an open door, open phone policy with Dr. Rocco and his team, and so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Soto. Dr. McSheen?
Yeah, I just want to thank again the board members and also the participants in the audience for mostly coming up and stating their opinions in a respectful way. It's really important that we do that. And, I understand, I attended board meetings for a while before I ran for school board. Sometimes it can feel like we're up here and we just have decided what we're doing, and no matter what anyone out there says, we're just going to do it. But that's really not the case. And I think it's hard to be on the other side until you're on the other side, because there are very difficult decisions you have to make. There are very difficult things when it comes to student behavior, administrative hearings and things like that are really gut-wrenching sometimes. There are things that are really enjoyable about being a school board member, and there are huge challenges that are emotional. And I also wanted to thank one of the people who came up and they stated that they were making an emotional statement. And I think it is emotional, because when I was thinking about the pre-K, it's very emotional to me as someone as someone whose parents were not doing financially that great when I was a young kid, and I was thankfully became part of the Head Start pre-K program. And who knows, counterfactually, I'll never know if the pre-K helped me get to where I feel like I am now with I hate to say, oh, I'm so great or anything. It's not that. It's that, I've seen how lacking support early on can really change someone's direction, and someone getting support when they didn't have it really changes their direction too. So when I was thinking of the pre-K program and we're still moving and still figuring out steps, part of me is always thinking, if we don't have an established pre-K program and it stops 10 kids, 100 kids, 300 kids, 1,000 kids from not getting that education, what is that doing to their life when we have the power to do something to support them and make them, at least help them get a better step towards being more successful. So, and everyone has their thoughts around this and all the other topics. And so I appreciate us all bringing both the emotion and the facts and everything else to the table so that we can have these discussions, because that's why we're here. That's why there's 9 of us, so that we can air different opinions and hopefully be constructive on it. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McSheen. So at this time, I'm going to move on to hearing the public.
Mrs. Thornton?
Yeah, Mr.
Can I
Kanga.
just
You have a
want to add
follow-up
one thing.
question?
I want to just follow up on Dr. Ferrara said. We have a lot of families in this district, and what Dr. Ferrara said about, the I'm going to say the TIC movement. It's important because there's families that go out that go camping, and if we can maybe put something on the school website under health and welfare, so to speak, to make parents aware of what Dr. Farrar has just brought up, I think it would really would help out, because I'm a camper and I take my grandkids out, and you never know what you're finding on the ground out there. So if there's something out there that we can avoid, let's let the community know about it. If we can get it up on the website, like I said, not everybody can come to the meetings, not everybody can tune in. They have children at home, there's homework to do and stuff, other curricular activities. But if it's something that they get 2 minutes or so during the day or on their lunch break, they can log on and see what the updated news is for the district. I think it would be real helpful.
Thank you, Mr. Kanka.
And thank you very much, Dr. Farrar.
You're very welcome, Mr. Kanka. I'll send you some sites where you can buy permethrin-infused socks. You can buy clothing that's already got permethrin in it. You don't have to worry.
Not to be the bummer and the buzzkill here, but just want to correct your statement a little bit. It doesn't have to be camping. It doesn't have to be in the woods. Ticks
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere. They can be on your perfectly manicured backyard, and
They can be
that's
coming
what the
in with
challenge
your
is.
Well,
dog.
you're not correcting, you're just adding to it.
Adding, that's right.
Listen,
It's an amendment to
my
the
dog
statement.
brought one into the house. My dog brought a Lone Star tick into the house.
But
And
I
the-
think if
and
it's
the Lone
something that
Stars-
if it's something we know, we should pass it on.
Yeah. Well, listen,
Do have health reports here too.
Yeah, well, there's several of us on this board. I mean, people were like, nobody knew about this. You've got the Hamilton Township Community Supporting Education that put out the budget memo, and they put out that tonight was going on. I put out something that was going on. Ms. Soto did, Ms. Stanton did, Ms. Williams did. So, and the district put it out on all its social media sites. So, it was publicized. And I think Ms. Williams talked to people, did you not?
I did.
Yeah, so people have busy lives.
So I think we should have a news alert.
All right, you want me to write it?
When you look on air, what's new? What's going on?
We should have a
For all
banner
wonderful-
going across.
Do we have an
For all
Instagram account?
wonderful suggestions.
We do have an Instagram account? Yeah, like,
Those are all wonderful suggestions, and I thank you very much. So, Dr. Rocco, you might have a little homework to look into.
We have a community update coming up, so just pass information over.
There you go. Okay, so I'm going to move on to hearing of the public on school-related matters, and I'm going to, Chanel Vickers Ames.
Hi, Chanel Vickers Ames. Just have some questions and concerns. First, let's start off with updating the school websites and the calendar updates. Like, I'm curious to know if that's on a school level or a school board level, because some schools don't update on a monthly basis. And I have parents asking me what events are happening, and flyers go out the week of. So I'm just wondering who takes care of that, if it's the school or if it's the actual school board. Next, safety precautions. I'm never gonna live it up. This is my battle and I'm gonna ride it out. So how do we figure out how to make the parents feel more safe or have them think about the safety at drop off and pick up? My son missed the bus. Yes, my son missed the bus 4 times last week here at Grace. And I watched every day 5 parents bust a U-turn into traffic. It took everything in my power not to get out of my car and scream and yell. I wanted to take pictures, I wanted to do everything, but I'm just a parent. It's out of my control. We as the board, again, you all were elected, you gotta help me help the schools fix this problem because this is crazy. I watched a lady do a K-turn and stop traffic right at the crosswalk. So that is gonna be an ongoing situation forever. Is there a procedure for classroom safety for the individual doors at the elementary school levels? I know Wilson has individual doors and some teachers have the door panels covered and some don't. It was brought to my attention by a parent asking what is the procedure to that if the school has different policies against it, because the schoolyard itself is open area and people can walk in and just look in the doors. So we're just wondering what the policy would be on covering the windows to the doors. What else? And attendance report. I have it set up for Power School to send me my monthly report. Just received the most current one this week. And it appears that the monthly report that is sent out does not match Power School. Don't know what happened, but it appears my son has 48 absences, but when I go onto the Power School website, he actually only has 12. I'm confused on what's happening. I know math. I don't know if it's like a miscommunication, but when I got the email, I definitely reached out to a couple of his teachers, and they were like, no, that's not correct. But that's what I received in the email, so just wanted to bring that to your attention so we can fix it. Because if it's happening to me as one parent, how many other parents is it actually happening to? Thank you.
Thank you. John Muka?
Good evening again. Well, we've seen the school board at its best tonight, and we've just seen it at its absolute worst. Now, you people that have all these opinions about what the community is saying and criticizing you, it sounds an awful lot like a personal attack on me, because I sent you all an email with 5 questions, and you talk about using the tools that are available. Well, I don't know why most of you can't use the tool of email just to respond back and acknowledge an email that you get. Now, I'm trying to be a team player here, and this is a big project. It's $283 million. But I've worked on bigger projects than that. I've worked on teams that put satellites 22,000 miles over the earth in my time at Lockheed Martin and other places. So I've been on big projects before. And my whole career has been with helping teams make better decisions. And you have a lousy process here. Now, I don't know how you did this, but you rolled out this budget in stages since January, 4 meetings worth. And only today did I find out that we're talking about $60 million worth of spending on the pools and this new building. Now, maybe I missed it somewhere in the 3.5-hour-long meetings that you hold, in the videos that don't get posted till a month after the meeting takes place, because you don't even record it, but it gets posted somehow. You can do a much better job in informing people like me, and then when somebody like me sends you an email asking for some information, a chance to talk and work these things out, you can at least acknowledge it and say, well, I don't want to do that with you. And I don't think that we need to go through this same process that we went through with the books, a Mrs. Harvey special, in terms of a secret committees, two or three secret committees that had several meetings and we had no information about it, never invited to participate, even though we brought the complaints, and then suddenly a decision was made and announced. And this is the same process, and I'm hearing the same thing from Mrs. Harvey. Just sit back and just take what's handed out here because you should have known better. You should have been at all these things. All right, well, produce the minutes of those meetings with the attendance, which is what I asked for in the email. And then we can talk some more. So this is all about communication that brings unity to a situation here in Hamilton. And there's a lot of things you're trying to do here. And I'm not against pre-K. I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and I hope she gets a great education. And I'm just planning on how to be alive long enough to see her graduate from high school. Because I know I'm not going to make it long enough to see her get married. So getting through high school is the main thing. And I hope she runs into some good schooling where she is. And I want exactly that good thing for every one of the students that we have in Hamilton. So let's work together, let's communicate, let's answer questions, and get this process moving forward and make the best choices. Because I don't care how educated any one of you is, nobody has all the right answers. And nobody has all the wrong answers either. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Muka. Peg Kirkhoff?
Hello again, Ms. Peg. Started to come up here and say something else, but down to 3 and 15 seconds now. But as I was listening and seeing what went on here tonight, about 20 years ago, I was involved in the process of building a new lab building out in Ewing Township. And what I found very interesting is that we're here now talking about budget, but we already have our architect's plans. How did we get an architect to do this before we even have approval for the funds to do it? Where are the funds for the architect coming? Are they in this bill? Is this being paid for here? This process is convoluted at best. Now, again, you may have been talking behind with your meetings, obviously, but that raised a big flag to me. When did the architect get this? He didn't do this in January. I would be astounded if somebody could sit up there and tell me that this architect was not contracted until January, when apparently this other money came in that you have to get it now before the whole thing falls apart. So something is going on here. You folk all know what it is. It would be nice if you shared it with us. That process, I don't understand. You put the cart before the horse, in my mind, in that respect. The other thing I'm saying is, talking about preschool. Okay, so there's a preschool for 90 kids already in this township because of their zip codes. Okay, are those preschools filled? Are they to capacity? A question. I don't ever remember hearing about the preschools before. Another question. So what's going to happen to them? And again, this whole grant about you can't, if you can attach, where are these preschools? In the individual schools? Okay, questions? These things have not been addressed to my satisfaction. Okay? And again, and how can you say, I question how your research was on this. Now you're going to have a meeting with the people from Robinson. Now you're going to have a traffic study. Again, the cart before the horse. Wouldn't this have been a better way to think this out had you done those things first instead of doing them after when it's a done deal? And you ask why people don't feel like they're involved? Okay, you had 3 sites, you said. You had to choose a site. When did that happen? Well, how do you think the people feel about that? So how this process is being done is wrong. And I have been up here before about other things. And yes, you are elected to represent the people, but I don't think in a lot of ways you're doing a very good job. Thank you.